Welcome back to the Fight Pit, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Drew with High Fight IQ, and I am with Mr. Bad Beats himself, my boy Sean. And this is the UFC 299 reaction recap. Before we get into this, we need to let you know about our sponsor, PillowFight.co. Blissfully soft and shockingly supportive. Pillow Fight's commitment to premium foams and fibers provides superior comfort, all while being soft enough to cradle you to sleep, as if you just fought Dustin Poirier and made it to the second round, and we all know what happens then. One of our longtime sponsors, one of our most dedicated sponsors. Pillow Fight is worth every penny. Make sure you invest in your rest. Don't skimp on the details. Pillow Fight doesn't skimp on the details, neither should you. Their innovative sleep designs and detailed craftsmanship means that their pillows improve your sleep. Very, very important. It's a third of your life, people. Make sure you take it seriously. So visit pillowfight.co for more info. Now let's get on to this UFC 299 reaction recap. Man, Sean, I think we officially, on our official picks, we were 8-5 and then split the co-main event. I absolutely am just ecstatic over that co-main event, and that made the whole night for me. But we'll get to that one when we can. Let's hit some of the big moments of the prelim cards. It was one of the biggest cards that we've ever seen. One of the most anticipated cards that we've had in a while. Like we've been saying, this block of UFC 298, 299, 300 could be the best three card, back to back roll that we've ever seen. We had starting off with Joanne Wood. She unfortunately handed us our first loss on predictions, the first fight of the night, but she did the damn thing, and she showed up and she gutted it out. It was an amazing way to start the night off. What did you think about Joanne Wood?
First, I changed my mind on who I wanted Wood to win, because my mom's like, "Oh, that's my maiden name." So I was like, "Oh yeah." My mom watched.
Oh yeah, you got to.
And I'm like, all right, let's go Wood. And a retirement fight, and she put it all out there. She knew she was retiring. It was announced before the fight. Like, I was just like, hey, I'm kind of rooting for her. I understand it goes against her pick, but it's like, you know what? It's okay. You're not going to go perfect every time. But honestly, if the go out honestly, that could have been a fight of the night contender too. Like, that was a great fight.
True.
There weren't many sleepers tonight, but this one was just fantastic. I actually enjoyed this fight all the way to the last minute.
Absolutely. And that spinning back fist, man, we don't hardly ever see those land as clean as that in any fight, let alone women's divisions. That was a beautiful fight, beautiful finish, and a beautiful way to go out on a high note for Joanne Wood. She was never us, of course, being Americans, having those kinds of stars don't usually resonate with us the same way, with people like Bisping, with Dan Hardy. It's an amazing way to go out, and it's so good to see people like that too. She's been around for long time. Yeah. One of the OGs of the women's divisions. So congratulations to Joanne Wood. Happy retirement. We wish you all the best. Moving on, Asu Almabayev versus CJ Vergara. Really, nothing that we didn't expect. It was a good fight. CJ Vergara, showed his fortitude, showed his toughness, but ultimately Almabayev got the dominant decision. The main one, biggest one on the early prelims that we got to discuss, of course, the biggest UFC debut, figuratively and literally, Robelis Despain, an 18-second first-round KO in his UFC debut. We've seen some amazing UFC debuts before. Sean, let me know where you rank Robelis Despain's UFC debut amongst the very best.
An 18-second knockout. In his previous 3 fights, combined time was 19 seconds, 3 KOs, first round. He has never seen the end of a first round, all KOs. He has Olympic bronze medal, and he's going to work on his ground game on his own time. Like,
of course.
Like, I can't think of, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a debut that was just so crazy like that. Like, here I am, right here. Like, okay, you know what? I do got one. Justin Gaethje against Michael Johnson. That's only one that
I was gonna say
off the top of my head that will top it.
I was gonna say, the only 2 that come to mind for me that I think were up there as far as the most memorable debuts, Justin Gaethje, absolutely, and even though it didn't feel like a debut, Michael Chandler, first round knockout over Dan Hooker, which was something that he was another, like, excuse me, highly anticipated debut for me personally. He was, my favorite Bellator fighter, one of my favorite fighters currently right now too. And I think, probably 3 minutes or so into the fight was when Chandler got his TKO. Really hard to argue with 18 seconds. Yeah.
Honestly, he looked good, and like people were like, "Oh, he slipped, he's sloppy." I'm like, dude, he's 6'7", 6'8", so he doesn't have to have his hands up here. Legitimately, there's no one in the heavyweight division that he's going to have to need his hands here. He can have them down here, and they're perfectly fine. And then second, he slipped. It wasn't like he was sloppy and the guy got him with a leg kick and he fell. He actually slipped, so it happens. And the guy charged him and going backwards, hitting him with the left. That reminds me of Stipe Miocic versus Fabricio Werdum for the title. When he's going, Fabricio Werdum is just chasing him down, and he just backwards hits him with the left, and there he goes. Like, that's exactly what I saw when I saw that. I was like, oh, if he's going backwards and doing that power, oh boy, this heavyweight division's better be on alert.
Oh. That's a great point. Going backwards too, not having your back foot planted when you're turning into that backhand cross is really is a testament to the power that he possesses, and it's going to be exciting to see him moving forward. There's a lot of matchups that we can make at heavyweight. Who do you want to see him fight next? Do you want to give him an upper echelon fight right away? Do you want to give him a high profile fight? Do you want to kind of go the Sean O'Malley route where they kind of just build up the record and build up the experience until he gets to a bigger contract? Who do you think we give Robelis Despain first?
I say give him some time, because the heavyweight up top, there's a lot going on, and it looks like a lot of waiting too. So we don't want to rush him, and then all of a sudden now he's waiting too. Like right now,
Good point.
we let's slow build him a little bit. Let this guy look like it, make it look like Francis Ngannou. Like Francis won like 8 fights in the UFC before he got that title. And his previous fight was before the title was for Alistair Overeem. Like he finally got that big name, but it was like his 8th fight in. So I would like him to do kind of that. Make him look like the juggernaut. Make him look invincible. Let him, like anyone outside the top 15, he's KOing in the first 20 seconds. And I would put my money on it every time. I feel bad I only put $50 on that bet on him. Right. I should have put like 300. Like that was stupid. And I won't make that mistake. Yeah, I'm not making that mistake again. If he's fighting an unranked guy, bet the house in the first round, finish for him. Like I would like a slow build. How about you?
I like it. I wouldn't be mad at just having, maybe 3, 4, possibly 5 fights, just run out his initial contract, just absolutely starching cans, just beating, beating knockout records, like fastest knockouts of all time, beating, win streak knockout records. By the time he gets to, 6 fights or so, I mean, he's 35, he's my age. So of course he doesn't have forever, but at the heavier weight classes, you can get away with being older there. Cause you don't really put the same amount of mile. I mean, the guy's got like, 5 minutes of fight time in his first 5 fights. So it's not like he's really, he's not really racking up the miles on himself yet, of course he's got the Olympic competitive background and everything too. And that's, you do suffer damage, you do take damage, you do accumulate, the wear and tear when you're competing, especially at that level and the Olympic level of any sport that you're doing, it takes a toll on you. But he looks great. He looks great to start. I think, giving him a couple more, I wouldn't say, no names, because everybody in the, not to sound disrespectful, everybody in the UFC is a name and everybody is, the best in the world if you make it to the UFC. But giving him some of those, entry level names, some of those people who are coming off the Contender Series, coming on, making their debuts. Say, like you said, I like that. Save the big names, save the big fights for when it's a little bit more dialed in, a little bit more panned out up at the top, and it's not just going to be rushing him right up into a log jam. And right after that, of course, we got another finish from Michel Pereira, the first round 1 minute submission. Not something that I would say surprised us, but not exactly how we saw that fight going. I personally, I'm glad that we saw the urgency, the go forward, the be exciting, the take the fight to him right away type of Pereira that we saw. The guy from, when he first started out, the one doing backflips and shit. And I'm glad that we got to see that one. I did, just like with Rebelis, I got the bet in on the first round, finished by Pereira. Rebelis to Spain, I was telling you in the chat too, they never even opened up the round betting on that. Ordinarily, you get like the method of victory, you get a KO, submission, decision, and then you can even go a step further and pick what round it's going to be, and you can go further and pick what like minute, like from the first to the second minute. They didn't even bother putting the rounds, the minutes, nothing on there because they knew it was, they knew it was.
I got minus 150. For first round knockout for him.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So I got $25 profit out of that.
There you go.
But they didn't give it to me until the Michel Pereira fight was over. And I was like, I was going to double it right up, put it right back to Michel Pereira.
Of course.
I was putting it right back on him and by finish. I was going to do by finish.
Man, it's always whenever there's times where we just aren't really sure. Whenever you're positive about something, that's always when the payout takes fucking forever. Yeah. Ridiculous. But Michel Pereira, let me know, how did you feel about that 1 minute submission against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk?
And Mikhail is a great fighter. Like, people need to realize he's not a slouch. Mm-hmm. And the reason the submission came into play was the body shots. He hit him with 3 body shots in like 10 seconds, legitimately in 10 seconds. And you just see him buckle over, and it's like, oh boy, here it comes. Michel Pereira ain't going to mess around with this. I don't see it. I think it's coming to an end real quick. And I like him at middleweight. He's big for middleweight. Like, stop with the welterweight shit. I know it would have been great to see him against Wonderboy Thompson, but soon we're going to talk later about another fight that is going to be happening with Wonderboy, but it won't be Michel Pereira. Yeah. So Michel Pereira, stay at middleweight. You don't need welterweight. You don't need it. It's fine. And honestly, I think he needs to fight a top 15 guy too. It's like, he looks fantastic at middleweight. And if he could fight more like determined to actually get the finish versus the show, he could still be showy and get the job done like he did today.
Right.
That's what I'm looking forward to in the future. Do you have an idea of who you would want him to fight, or not sure?
Honestly, I think There's a lot of good fights for him too. There's a lot of, kind of the same as heavyweight, where we have like the top of the heap is still kind of doing the mix and match thing. We're not really sure what's going on at the very top, but right inside that like 5 to 15 range, and even maybe the 15 to 20 as far as the rankings go, the top 20 right inside that range, there's a lot of good matchups that you can make as far as shoveling everybody around. There's a lot of, we got guys like at middleweight, we got the 10 to 15 just had some mixing and matching recently with Anthony Hernandez. We've got Dolidze in there. You've got Paul Craig. You've got Chris Curtis. Even just that, not saying necessarily that Pereira should be ranked right off the bat, but hey, if he's finishing unranked dudes in 1 minute, you got to bump him up. And
yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at seeing, maybe somewhere at 14, 15, give him a Chris Curtis, if nothing else, give him I wouldn't even be mad at a Paul Craig if they don't match Paul Craig up with somebody else. That's, I hate to say it because it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm, being a casual or anything, but he's exciting. So give him someone exciting. Don't give him somebody who's going to, as much as I love Conlin, I think was his first loss. He ran away from him as he was chasing him, managed to, get a body lock, control him, establish, the dominant position and hold it. We got to give him somebody exciting. You got to match that excitement.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I would say anywhere from 15 to 12, because I would say both these guys are right outside the 15. So it was almost like right. 17 versus 16 or 17 versus 18, in my opinion. So let them fight. Let them fight. Someone from 15 to 12. So Paul Craig, Anthony Hernandez, that would be a scary fight for both of them.
I was going to say,
that is a scary fight. Holy crap, is that a scary fight?
Of course, I'm always biased towards Anthony because he's a homie, but I would absolutely love to see that. That would be it would be a good win for either of them. If either of them at this point was able to have that fight, that would of course be a main card fight somewhere. It would be a fight of the night candidate right off the bat. And, that I would not be mad at Pereira versus Hernandez next.
Man, that would, and Hernandez is going to bring it too. He's not going to let Pereira just walk him down. So it's it's going to be fireworks in the first 10 seconds. The first 10 seconds, you could see something crazy happen. Honestly, I'm talking myself into making that fight, even though Hernandez should be fighting upwards. But at the same point, it's like, God damn it, that's a good fight. That is a fun fight.
That would be beautiful. I think we could see a good, trying to think of one to compare it to. There haven't been a whole lot of them at middleweight. We could probably say a Clay Guida, Diego Sanchez type fight, one of those just knockdown, drag out, constant action. One of those ones where everybody's fucking bloody at the end. You're not really sure who won because it was so close and it was so competitive and so exciting, and you don't really care who won at the end. We'll go ahead and lock that one in as the dream fight for Pereira next. But logically, realistically, excitement. Also, 15, like you were saying, 14 and 15, we got Chris Curtis and Caio Barallo. So either of those guys, either of those, you go 13, 100%. 14, 15 for Pereira. We are all set here at the Fight Pit as far as that's concerned. The following one, Cutelaba and Felipe Lins, didn't exactly go. I'm not going to say it didn't go like we thought it would, but it didn't exactly go how I would have predicted it. I thought there was going to be just a tad bit more back and forth action and a lot more scary moments it was a relatively safe fight for considering that Ion Cutelaba was a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is the Cutelaba excitement down to a dull roar now? Are you still looking to see him fight up in the rankings, fight somewhere up, try to get, a higher up opponent, or is he a journeyman at this point?
I think he could fight some good contenders, like somewhat like maybe bottom 15, like towards the bottom end of the 15. But I don't think he's making a run towards the title because he did seem just a bit slower the entire fight. And age is not your friend. Speed goes quicker than most of your attributes. I would say like neither of them are rated in top 15, which it's kind of surprising because they were both technically good fighters. But you look at the bottom 15, it's like bottom of the 15, it's like Dominic Reyes. I mean, have one of them fight. Like you could definitely have Felipe fight Dominic Reyes maybe next. Like
right.
But cute about he's maybe just if you have someone in the top outside the top 15 you want to bring in, like have them fight him and see what they do. That would be my, at least for now, until he proves like gets a little run going again, if he can.
Right. Good call. Yeah. And that's tough because, like I said, you got to give it. Anytime someone gets a win, you got to try to, look to have them start fighting up from where they were. But just, those types of fights, like the kind of fight that we got from Felipe Lins, not the type of fight that I think Dana White is running to try to find your next opponent. It's a win, and it's you got the job done, you got the extra W on your record, but just as far as like the potential for that fight, I think it just did not live up to what it could have been, especially being the bigger guys we always have the bar set a little higher for. And it's a cute Alaba fight, man. I mean, he just fucking weighs in looking like the Hulk, and he's always yelling, and you gotta something's got to happen after that. That can't be the most exciting part of your fucking fight build up. But the card was immediately redeemed by Kyler Phillips. Fantastic dominant display over Pedro Munoz. The second, I think that was the second fight on my, I had Almabayev and CJ Vergara. So that was the second on my personal record for that night. I am not going to act surprised at all. I knew that Kyler Phillips was going to dominate. I had him by decision. He's just one of those dudes. He's a training partner of Sean O'Malley. Everything that they got going there is all the momentum is in their favor. At the MMA lab, they really can do no wrong right now. They've got they've got McGee, they've got Phillips, they have O'Malley. Everybody looks good coming out of the MMA lab right now. And Pedro Munoz, man, tough break. He just a perennial, top contender, possibly dropping completely out of the top 15 after this fight.
I think he does.
How do you see the future looking for both of these guys after this one?
Pedro Munoz, I think, will just keep fighting like contenders coming up and whatnot, or maybe he will fight, like, let's say someone in the lower end of the top 15 loses a fight, he might get a fight against them. What I do like, what actually scared me in this fight for our pick, Kyler Phillips, was that Pedro Munoz just pushes forward, even against a guy like the Matrix. He pushes forwards, and you saw the fight against Sean O'Malley. If it went a little bit further and they could have gone to the cards with the eye poke, Pedro Munoz would have had a win over Sean O'Malley. So it's
very feasible.
Pedro Munoz, but Pedro Munoz is no joke at any means. It's one of those that's just like, man, he just can't get him put together. But Kyler Phillips, I think he's going to swap spots with him. I think he's going to be like 13. I would say 13. That's where Pedro Munoz is currently. So I'd put him at 13. Mm-hmm. And Dominic Cruz is right above him with a loss. Jonathan Martinez with a loss. Ooh. I'm like, why not? One of those two. Like, makes sense. Why not? 12 and
Great
11,
call.
both on one loss. It makes it easy. And both
Great
would be
call.
great fights. Both would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jonathan Martinez and Kyler Phillips, two surging prospects, just meeting each other on the way up too. I love it. Also, giving Kyler Phillips Dominic Cruz. I think trying to give Dominic Cruz a fight that, and I fucking love Cruz. I still have him as the bantamweight GOAT. I still think that he is just the gold standard as far as champion goes at the lower weight classes. And I don't think that we give him the trying to get him back in the mix type of fights. I think I see certain people once they get to a certain point in their career, I think that they get the like Donald Cerrone, Nate Diaz treatment, where it's like, we're not necessarily looking to get you a title fight. If it happens along the way, awesome. But we're just giving you fights that are going to be great shows. You're going to get a great payday. A lot of people are going to tune in. It's going to be, nothing that is going to diminish, win or lose, nothing that's going to diminish your legacy any further. We've seen Dominic Cruz have some rough breaks. That Cheeto Vera head kick was shown all day, every day in the lead up to this card. And, you just hate to see stuff like that. I would love to see Dominic Cruz get a fight against, somebody who was somebody. I mean, hey, Pedro Munoz, I wouldn't be mad at watching that, not really too worried about it. That wouldn't feel like we're throwing Dominic Cruz to the fucking lions to, taking him out to slaughter or anything. But yeah, dude, this fucking division, man. We talked about it a little bit in the breakdown. We've got Kyler Phillips unranked and going up against number 13. That's the bottom of the barrel as far as the rankings go, and those are just killers, just absolute killers. Yeah. And it just speaks to how absolutely stacked bantamweight is, man. If you had to guess how long it would be before we see Kyler Phillips fighting someone in the top 5, what is the range that you're putting it on? You could do it in terms of years, or you could do it in terms of fights. How far away from top 5 you think he is?
First, it would be the matchups. If he gets handed Umar Nurmagomedov, I'm sorry, bud. Kyler Phillips, you're not beating Umar. You're not beating Umar. You have to get that. You got to get that first round knockout, or you're not winning that fight. But they're looking to push Umar against like Sandhagen, which Sandhagen does not need to take that fight, and I don't want him to take that fight either. Jonathan Martinez, I think that's a good one. If he can win that, they have Davison Figueiredo at 8 already. You know what? Oh, I thought so. If he could get Jonathan Martinez and win convincingly, he could get right now it's number 7, but he might drop like one spot, but I don't think so. Song Yadong at 7. Those 2 fights, he wins those 2 fights. Marlon Cheeto Vera was 5. He's going to drop down. Henry Cejudo, we don't know if he's really going to fight again. He says he might. He says he might not. So, I mean, there's a way if he goes back those 2 fights, he could have 2 more fights. I would say I don't know how the time frame would work, but I could see those 2 fights. Song Yadong definitely needs to recover too, so it's like Kyler Phillips doesn't. Song Yadong is both him and Peter Yan. We'll get to that later, but they need some recovery time. So it actually could work well for Kyler Phillips' timeline.
That's a good call. I like it. I would, like you said, Umar is just the one nobody wants to see. Nobody's looking to see Umar. I definitely don't want to see Umar versus Sandhagen. I want to see Sandhagen versus O'Malley as soon as possible. My ideal matchup, like I said, I wanted Cheeto versus O'Malley for the belt. We got that one out of the way. The next one on my bantamweight bucket list is Sandhagen versus O'Malley. So the sooner I can get that one, the better. But Kyler Phillips, definitely promising, looking dominant, not looking like he's got too many hangups as far as things he needs to work on. He looked great in that fight, wasn't in trouble a whole lot. So just exciting. And it'll be interesting to see how two MMA lab guys up at the top of the rankings works out. We could see a Merab Aljamain deal where we end up having 1 and 2 just fighting off the rest of the pack. So it's going to be interesting. Another interesting one too. I thought this one was going to go a little differently than it did. I'm not surprised the way it went out. We got Mateus Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. RDA, man, just one of those dudes. Like we said in the lead up to the fight, he's just one of those dudes that may not have ever been your favorite fighter, but hands down, one of the guys that you just can't help but love at this point. And RDA in the first round, I think, surprised a lot of people. He had some moments. He was looking like the RDA of old. He was catching Gamrot. He wasn't in trouble immediately. Gamrot did utilize his game plan, ultimately was able to get the decision win in the fashion that he does. But I thought RDA looked good. I don't think RDA's done. I'm glad that he had, at least a decent showing, wasn't able to get the win. I think he may have even stole a round out of it, which I don't think anybody saw coming. And, Mateus Gamrot just doing what he does, man. Doing what he does, doing what we all expected. What did you think of Gamrot showing in that one?
I had a 29-28. But originally my pick, because this was on our predictions, I picked it 30-27. But this is the second time in 3 fights he's had that, like, he's been stung pretty hard in the first round. Mm-hmm. And that does not make me happy for the top 5, because you look at Dustin Poirier, Arman Tazarkian, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Islam, they're going to mess you up in that first round, man. Like Gamrot might be stuck where he is, in my opinion. Like, where he is at 6. You look at the guys below him, I think he could beat most of them. You look at the guys above him, I can't see him beating them. It's weird. He's like almost in his perfect rating. But I do believe you have to give him a fight up. But who? Like, Gaethje's fighting someone, Poirier's got Islam's attention now, it looks like, which kind of sucks for Justin, because Justin should be the guy. And then you have Charles and Arman fighting at UFC 300, which is going to be a barn burner. Like, that's insane, that fight. It's like, and Michael Chandler's only one above him. Like, so is he by default having to fight someone below him again? Like, because everyone else is busy. He's and he just fought number 11. Maybe Dan Hooker, if he comes back. Like, maybe he fights a Dan Hooker, like, at 10. Like, his is a really hard spot to put him. RDA, hey, whatever he wants to do. That's the answer for that. Whatever he wants to do. If Dana gives him a fight, 39 years old, going to be 40, can fight with anyone still, it's like, hey, whatever I want to do before I retire. So, like, I'm not against that.
RDA is exactly another one of those dudes, like I was just saying, a Cerrone, a Nate Diaz, a Dominic Cruz, one of those guys that you don't necessarily need to be giving him fights that will try to move him forward, move him back towards the title shot. Just give him fights that are going to serve him, fights that are going to be exciting, fights that are going to get him up and fired up in the morning. I mean, RDA's seen it all, done it all at this point. He's dominated and had very impressive runs and had very impressive wins, fought the who's who of 2 divisions now. There isn't much left for him to do unless, I mean, if he's going to try to make his way back to the title, if he's going to try to make a run at, we had a good solid showing for him when in his time at welterweight, and just back down at lightweight now is it's difficult because there's not a whole lot. He's fought just practically everybody except for the top of the tops. And like you said, those are all pretty much ironed out as far as where they're going. As far as Gamrot, man,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but like you said, Chandler's the only one without a fight. And Chandler, my favorite fighter currently on the roster, active right now, I would be beyond upset if all of this waiting and all of this buildup for the Chandler McGregor ended up in Chandler having to settle for someone like Mateusz Gamrot as the next fight. As you know, just we can't get the McGregor fight going. We need to get Chandler in before, you know, time runs out. We got no one else to put him up against. Let's just give him someone like Gamrot. Give him, you know, I personally think that running back the Gamrot Fiziev fight is something
Not
that should be
option.
considered. I think that one, you know, we saw what Fiziev did to RDA. RDA put up a great fight, but Fiziev ultimately got the knockout. And against RDA, who, how many times have we ever seen RDA knocked out? You know, and
Yeah.
I think if the fight, the Fiziev Gamrot fight, wouldn't have ended in the fashion that it did, I think it would have been a very tough outing for Gamrot. I think that Fiziev is just, you know, he is one of my favorites to watch. He's one of those just hard hitting Tiger Muay Thai, just everything is with bad intentions. His technique is just top notch. Everything has power behind it. You know, those Thai guys, they have that style of, you know, they have bad intentions on every single thing they do. Everything they do. We see it with Khalil Roundtree too. You know, just every move he makes is just like, oh my God. And watching, I think Fiziev Gamrot running that one back I think that's what my vote is for the next move for Gamrot. As far as RDA, I still think Chandler has it in him to contend for a title. You know, I've said multiple times on so many different occasions, Chandler was moments away from winning every fight that he was in. He either got the knockout or his opponent was able to weather the storm and get the win over him later. But Chandler was competitive in every fight, even in the losses. He had his moments. He could have won each of those fights. And I think that just, you know, writing him off because of age, writing him off because of the UFC record, writing him off for any reason is just, I think it's immature. And I think that, you know, we got to still look to put Chandler up towards the top. But all of that considered, I wouldn't be mad at somebody like, you know, a Chandler versus Fiziev or even a Chandler versus RDA if things don't go Chandler's way in, let's say Chandler gets the Conor McGregor fight and does, God forbid, get in a loss. You know, having RDA fight big names and fight exciting fighters, I think that's what RDA deserves at this point. I don't think that he needs to be the stepping stone for the up and comers anymore. He's proved that he's paid his dues. I think he deserves whatever the hell he wants. And if he wants, you know, if he's number 11, if he's still number 11 after this, I wouldn't necessarily knock him down. I mean, he's ranked above fucking Saint Denis, for God's sakes. And Saint Denis just fought number 3. That's crazy. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler versus Bobby Green. Damn. Oh, yeah. Bobby Green and RDA. I'm in. Even just, you know, a Drew Dober. RDA and Drew Dober.
Yeah.
Killer. I'm down. Yep. Do you have anything in mind for these guys next as far as the immediate future?
Immediate future, I would basically RDA fight whoever you want to fight because you're 39, you're going to 40, you're not going to fight for the title again. Do what you want to do. Like, don't just take some no name for no reason. Like Bobby Green sounds great. 2 veterans. He even asked about that about a year ago, like 2 fights ago, where he knows his title runs over. He wants to fight some name value guys to have them on his resume. And it's like, hey, Bobby Green, that's great. And it's a winnable fight too. Like, very winnable fight for him. So I'm cool with that one. And I kind of agree with Fiziev also with your Gamrot Fiziev take, because it's weird. It's like his knee just gave out. It wasn't like Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega 1, where he was grabbing him and then the shoulder came out of place. That is still a submission. He caused it. At the end of the day, he caused it. Yeah, was it kind of fluky? It is what it is. But that wasn't the case. This was, he stepped in, knee went. That's it. Same thing like Tom Aspinall against Curtis Blades. Knee just went. I call those flukies. It's like, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again.
Yep. Let's lock that in. RDA, you get whatever you want. Gamrot versus Fiziev. Let's run that one back.
Yep.
Finishing up the prelim card, we got Macy Barber with a decision win over Caitlin Chukagian / Sermonara, and then Curtis Blades with the round 2 TKO over Jailton Almeida. The Macy Barber Caitlin Sermonara fight. Anything that you didn't expect?
Just a little bit, and it was on Macy Barber's part. I knew Caitlin is a phenomenal fighter, and she looked like the better technical fighter. Macy just looked like, honestly, just like a football player trying to play basketball, just using her brute force and trying to do something she's not doing right. Yeah, she won the fight. Congratulations. But you go up against Fiorot, Aaron Blatchfield, Valentina Shevchenko, or Alexa Grasso, guess what? You're going to get your ass whooped. So that was your last chance. Learn better technique, or you're going to get your ass whooped by everyone above. This was one of those lessons you learn in a good way by winning. So that's the only thing that really surprised me. Caitlin, she's a little bit older. Is a damn good fighter. Very, very technical. But
still,
for her, she'll probably still fight someone in the top 10. She'll still fight someone top 10 for sure. But Macy, she's going to fight up, but she needs to fight better. Way more technical. She has to drop this brute force shit out the window. She is not Khamzat Chimaev that can do that. Leave that.
Caitlin, not a bad showing for her at all, even in a loss. She was, she dealt with a lot over the last few years. She outside of the cage, and she was still able to come in and have a great showing. Credit to her on that one. And Macy, if you're watching this is all just tough love. We fucking love you. Nothing personal.
Oh yeah,
nothing against anything at all. I love you to death. I want to see you do well. She's an alpha male girl. I am always biased against the Central California, or I'm always biased for anybody that competes out of Central California, because that's my stomping grounds. And so I certainly hope that, she's the future. That's what she was billed as. That's what her whole thing has been ever since she got in. She's the future of the division. And to be the future of the division, you have to adapt. You have to grow. You have to learn. You have to, you have to become one of those, like a Charles Oliveira, where, you come into the game and you have your bread and butter, which is obviously her wrestling, her grappling. She is just an absolute tank. She is as dominant as can be when it comes to in close. But she's got to adapt, and I believe that she has the potential to. I think that she can. I think she's got plenty 100%. Of time. She's still very young. I don't see her being the champion within the next year or so. But I think if things go her way, and if she continues just progressing and learning and just adding those, I call it the tool belt. If you just keep adding those tools, just stacking tools on tools and loading up that tool belt, I think she's definitely a problem. And I would love to see that. I would love to see her versus, I heard someone make this comparison, and it was for it was for reasons outside of fighting. But the more I think about it, the more I would like to see Macy Barber versus Mackenzie Dern in the future.
Okay, so which it should be fighting down for that one, or
I'm not sure where Dern is ranked right now.
Mackenzie Dern is she a flyweight, or she's not in the flyweight ranking? So I'm yeah, I think that's
Oh, okay, yeah, my bad. I was thinking of the different one. She is.
Yeah, she would have to.
Where is Mackenzie Dern?
Is she in strawweight?
Oh yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's in strawweight. Yeah, no, you don't want that fight then. You don't want that because Mackenzie would get roughed up. Mackenzie would get roughed up.
Just
I see a fight I would like for her.
Completely scratch that. The
Jessica Andrade, one above her. I know she's gonna. Macy Barber's gonna move up. I know Macy's gonna move up to 4 or even 3, but it's like, honestly, Andrade is a good one, a lesson to learn.
I think this might be what I was thinking of. I think I got the M's mixed up. I was thinking Miranda Maverick.
Okay.
Miranda Maverick is at 14, and the styles that they both have, I think Miranda Maverick is what we expected Macy Barber to be, if that makes sense. I think that Miranda Maverick is like, she's dominant. She's one of those ones that, regardless of who she's going up against, I think that she's the favorite. I think that she's one of those ones that just always grinds her way through to the win, regardless of who she's going up against and regardless of who their style is. I think that in the future that would be a great fight. As far as Caitlin Sermonara is concerned, that's tough, man. That's tough. Because like you said, she should still deserve to get like some higher up name fights, but being able to compete with, because she was Amanda Hebos.
Yeah, Amanda Hebos. That wouldn't be a bad one for her. Like it's 8, and she'll probably drop down 1 or 2, so she'll move down to like 6. 8 versus 6, and it's a good fight. They're both names.
Yes. I'm with that.
I'm not against that. Yeah.
I'm with that.
It's respectable. It's respectable.
Absolutely. And Casey O'Neill's still in there too. I haven't heard of Casey O'Neill having to fight anybody. She's a tough one. She's one of those ones that could be looking to get a bigger name to try to move herself up the rankings too. So I think giving her somebody like Macy Barber or a Caitlin Sermonara here soon. Excuse me. But yeah, I think we've seen Miranda Maverick in there with all different kinds of styles, and she's put her game plan to use. I think that Miranda Maverick is moving up the rankings very soon, and I think seeing Miranda Maverick versus Macy Barber in the future is inevitable.
Yeah.
And then the next one, Curtis Blades, man. What does this guy got to do to get a title shot at this point? This dude he's already fought everybody. He technically has a win over the current interim champion. That being said, Curtis Blades fighting for a title, man. It's I don't want to say he doesn't deserve it, but on paper, he deserves a title shot. But I don't see them giving Curtis Blades a title shot. He does have wins over big names. He's got finishes over big names. He's coming off of a finish. He's coming off of a TKO finish over a very, very heavy hype train. Like Jailton Almeida he was on a tear. He was one of those dudes that nobody wanted to face, and he was the favorite against everybody coming up into this fight. I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you give Curtis Blades a title shot?
I wish Curtis Blades listened to anything from Chael Sonnen. Anything. If he did, this is what he does after the fight. And I was even telling my girlfriend before the fight, like, by any chance there's an upset, he should be calling out Tom Aspinall. Be like, hey, I beat you. You want your win back? Is like, I know you want your win back. I want to go for that interim belt. Let's make it happen. You know what? Tom Aspinall was like, hey, he gave me a shot too. Like, Tom Aspinall was ranked like 8th at the time versus Curtis Blades was like 3. So I was like, he gave him the shot being down too. So I think Tom would be like, all right, maybe. But the thing is, Curtis Blades, like, I've watched like a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, Chael Sonnen just ripping apart Curtis Blades. Like, dude, just learn how to talk. Make a call out.
Right.
Make a proper call out. If you did this, you would have 3 title shots already. Like, the man should have fought for a title by now, but he doesn't call out or anything. He feels like it's just going to eventually happen, which that's not how it works, unfortunately. So I do believe he'll end up fighting Ciryl Gane. That is my guess. I think because they're going to probably try to save Tom Aspinall just in case John Jones doesn't retire, and then be like, hey, John Jones, Tom Aspinall, let's go. But and regardless, if that fight does happen of Curtis Blades and Ciryl Gane and John retires, it's just still a number 1 contender fight for Tom Aspinall. And I'm cool with seeing the rematch or seeing Ciryl Gane fighting Tom. Like, both are great. Like, so it's like, I think that's the fight to actually make. But Curtis Blades could have had the title fight right now. Just, he didn't make the damn call out.
Poor guy. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, if you look at it on paper, you stack up everybody's records, everybody's, we say it all the time, strength of schedule. Like, who hasn't Curtis Blades gone up against at this point? He's gone up against Derek Lewis. He just finished Jailton Almeida. He's got a win over Tom Aspinall. He's practically fought everybody except those top 4 guys above him. He fought Aspinall, hasn't fought Gane, hasn't fought Pavlovich, and
he fought Pavlovich. He didn't fight Pavlovich.
Oh, no, my bad. I was looking at Miocic. Hasn't fought Stipe Miocic, and I think, like you were saying, the John Jones and Stipe Miocic fight that they're trying to get, I think that they keep Tom Aspinall open so that if that fight does end up going through, then they have Tom Aspinall as the backup so that if anything happens, he steps in against either John or Stipe. And trying to plug Blades in there somewhere is tough. I agree with you. Unless John Jones retires and that frees up one of those top 5 spots, I don't know who you put Blades against next. I have no idea. You could put him in against Ciryl Gane and have that be but if he wants any shot at a title, he's got to beat Ciryl Gane in that fight, because if he keeps getting up to the very edge and then losing like he's done in the past, especially with not being the big name draw, not talking on the mic, not solidifying himself as one of those fan favorites that everybody wants to, because like with Aspinall and Pavlovich, when they had the interim, nobody was mad at that. Everybody was, completely unanimous. Like, yes, if there's 2 guys not named John Jones or Stipe that we want to see fight for the title, it's Aspinall and Pavlovich. And I don't think that right now, I don't think anybody is clamoring for a Curtis Blades title shot except for Curtis Blades himself.
And I don't even think he's doing it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Gosh, poor guy.
No, I don't want to take anything away from Blades, but this fight, how they say in sports, did this team win the game or did they lose it? And I think Almeida lost this fight because of himself. I always say this with grapplers. Obviously, you look at me, I am not a fighter whatsoever, but I like learning styles of fights. I know what works. And look at Khabib and all the Dagestani Russians. They went to AKA. They already had the Sambo wrestling, a mixture of wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They needed to learn stand-up. So they went to AKA. They trained under Javier with Daniel Cormier, with what's the heavyweight champ?
Cain
Velasquez. Cain Velasquez. Luke Rockhold. Like that's what he needs to do. Jitton Almeida, if he just learned how to throw a jab, the fight's over. The fight is over in the first round. He throws a jab once or twice. Curtis Blades like, oh, Jesus, I got to watch out for this. And then boom, take down, continue with the ground and pound, get the neck over. It's like it really would have been, but he didn't throw anything. It was takedown, try to go for submission. Takedown, go for submission. And even when he took him down, Curtis Blades is like, oh, no danger. Pound his head in. That just annoys me when I see that with a grappler that just doesn't throw a punch. Like GSP made his career off of grappling and a jab. Jab. His whole career. And yet we say he's the GOAT. Grappling and a jab. That's all you need as a combo. Definitely in the heavyweight division. You could be fighting for a championship with grappling and a jab. That's it.
Basics, baby. Basics. It's all basics. Yeah, the top guys, John Jones, Cyril Gahn, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich, all of them are all built on those basic fundamentals. And that's something that if he hasn't learned it by now, he's going to. All right. Getting on to these episodes for the next few weeks or for the next few pay-per-views are going to be monumental, going to be huge because we have so much to cover. The main card on this one kicking off with Petr Yan and Song Yadong. I am man enough to admit when I'm wrong. I thought that Song Yadong was going to continue Petr Yan's skid. I thought that just the timing, and I thought that, I had Song Yadong win in the first round. I thought that that's how the rest of the fight was going to go, but credit to Petr Yan, his championship medal. He was able to weather that early onslaught and be able to get inside and utilize his superior boxing. And ultimately, he ended up getting takedowns when he needed them. I thought that there was a couple points when it looked like he was starting to fade, where it looked like he might have been a little bit out of it. He might have got caught with some hot shit. He might have started getting a little bit of lactic acid buildup and felt a little stuck in the mud. But he toughed his way through it, ended up getting the decision. And was this one? I didn't see who got fight of the night. I think that this one,
fight of the night, went to Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis.
Okay. Well, This was the one. It was this one, and then the Holland MVP fight. Those were the two that I thought were going to be the front runners for fight of the night candidates. And this one was. It was worth it. It was exciting. Credit to Song Yadong. He's young. He's still, I think he's only like 20 years old still, man. Fighting former champion.
He's young.
And that's, he's no slouch, but give it to Petr Yan. He did what he needed to do. How'd you feel about this fight, and where do you think Petr Yan goes next?
I would love to see Petr Yan either get the Corey Sandhagen rematch. Like, once again, he could do the same thing. Like be like, hey, you want that one back? It was a split decision and a fantastic fight. Corey Sandhagen versus Petr Yan. But it's like he could get that. Honestly, he could get Henry Cejudo. I would love to see that. Petr Yan versus Henry Cejudo. I'm in. Yeah. I'm in. Like that's a fun fight. Like, I know that's fighting down, but who cares? Like, legitimately, who cares? You went on a 4-fight losing streak. 1 DQ and then 3 losses, so it's technically still 4. It's like, so you're going to have to fight down more than once. So so this is a perfect chance to get that. I don't want Henry Cejudo to retire before seeing this fight, because that would be fantastic. Like, make this either a co-main event for a weaker UFC card and make it 5 rounds, or make it a fight night 5 rounds, which I don't think they're going to make Henry Cejudo in any fight night, to be honest. But still, you could dream about it. Make it a 5-round fight night main event. Like, that would be killer. And then Song Yadong, he has lots of options. Like, that was a great fight. Like,
oh yeah.
To be honest, he could still end up fighting Henry Cejudo. He could fight. They have Davison Figueiredo already at number 8, which is kind of crazy because he hasn't fought at this weight class.
Right.
But Song Yadong versus Rob Font, maybe. But I do think Song Yadong will handle Rob Font, in my opinion. But it would be a good fight. So, like, I think the winner of that fight was honestly the fans. Like, we were promoting that this was going to be violence, and it lived up to all of it. It was violence.
100%. 100%. I think Davison Figueiredo, I think he actually has one fight against Rob Font that he won by decision. So I think that's why they plugged him in just above Font. But again, I agree with you. I don't think that Davison Figueiredo should be plugged in that high. At least maybe. And I mean, the only to your point, the only person between Jan and Cejudo is Marlon Vera, and he just fought for the title. So having Jan versus Cejudo next totally makes sense in my eyes. And then you got Aljamain. Aljamain's still plugged in at number 2. If you take him out, because he's moving up the next weight class, isn't he?
Yeah. He's fighting at 145 on UFC 300.
Oh, that's right, Calvin Kattar. Yeah. So if you take Aljamain Sterling out of the rankings for bantamweight, you've got Merab, Sandhagen, and Jan. And then Marlon Vera just fought for the title. So if you take him out, Jan and Cejudo are 4 and 5. And so, yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that would be a very competitive fight. You know that Peter Yan isn't going to try to just Merab Dvalishvili wrestle fuck Cejudo the whole time. Cejudo might be trying to do it to Yan, but I think that would definitely be an exciting fight. And for Song Yadong, you know, like you said, there's so many options. You could put him against Rob Font. You could put him against. You got Figueiredo going up against Garbrandt, and Garbrandt is not even in the bantamweight top 15. So, shoot, man. Anybody from Song Yadong was number 7. Anybody below number 7, you could give to Song Yadong, and I'd be happy with it. I don't think anybody wants any of Umar Nurmagomedov. He would be the next one down. Song Yadong versus Rob Font. I'm cool with that one. Maybe even Song Yadong versus Chito Vera next. Both of them coming off losses.
We'll see how bad the injury was to Marlon Vera, though. Chito got when Sean O'Malley said he broke his face, it really looked like he broke an orbital bone. Like his cheeks were ridiculous. I
believe it. I feel like we probably heard it because that was
that knee.
So
that
fucking
knee.
loud.
So fucking crazy loud. Place. They're all screaming the whole night, and you heard it so clear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, we'll get to that one. Oh,
being able to hear that over that crowd, that's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, great fight. Fight of the night candidate if it wasn't on this card. Just so happened that we had just one of the craziest cards of all time. The next one up, Gilbert Burns and Jack Della Maddalena. Just absolutely hurts seeing people like Gilbert Burns go out like that, man. He's just, like RDA, one of those guys that you just can't help but love. You root for him and everything that he's doing. He's just the best kind of dude. And, the run that he had at welterweight going up against Usman, when he was on that tear, and I think it was during the pandemic, because I'm pretty sure their title fight was at the Apex with no crowd. But Gilbert Burns, man, credit to him. He's a gamer. He's just always fun, always awesome to watch. Never a dull moment. Never completely out of the fight unless you do what Jack Della Maddalena did to him. Where do you see Maddalena going from here, and who do you want to see Burns against next?
I would like to see Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady, because I don't believe they train together. I was going to say Gilbert Burns versus Ian Machado Gary, but they have trained together quite a lot, so they don't want to fight each other. So I don't think that would be the fight to do. I would say Sean Brady probably best bet. I don't believe they have fought, and I don't believe they train together, because I know there's like 4 of these guys in the top 15 that all train together. So it's it's kind of tough. Like, I know there's a couple in there. But I'm going to go to Jack here now. Jack, first, how he got out of that with using the cage. He didn't put the toes in the cage. I know some people have commented, he put the toes in the cage to twist himself over. No, he had a flat foot, pushed against the cage, used his hips the right way. They always say fire off your hips. And he used his legs so good against a second-degree black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. Like, this is no slouch on the ground in Gilbert Burns. So if he fights anyone above him, he's going to be ready on the ground, except maybe for the guy he called out. I gotta love it. I gotta love it because no one calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov. No one calls him out. Bilal Muhammad has turned down a fight. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson turned down a fight, then eventually had to take the fight because they paid him so much extra money. And he's already admitted that on his YouTube. So it's like Shavkat versus Jack Della Maddalena is a number 1 contender fight. Let Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards do their title fight. I think that'll be a quick, just Leon Edwards piecing them apart for 5 rounds. And then let the winner of Jack and Shavkat be the real, juicy fight for Leon Edwards. I think he's biting off more than he could chew, but you know what? Hey, you want to be the champ, man. You're young. You're 20. I think he's 26. He's in Shavkat's 28. It's like, we got 2 young, scary studs about to go to war. This is going to be disgusting. If this somehow goes to decision, I would be amazed. First, Shavkat's never gone to decision. So there's the first thing about that. So, I think that's the fight you make. It's he's calling his shot. He's calling he's calling the boogeyman of the division. I know there's a champion, but the real boogeyman we all say is the uncrowned king is Shavkat Rakhmonov right now. So
I'm with you. Hey, nobody else wants it. Give it to the one guy that does.
That's insane.
And if you're, kind of like the Saint Denis Dustin Poirier. You didn't really have too many people calling out Dustin Poirier, so you got to give it to the guy that wants it. And that's, we know that Dana White loves guys like that, guys who are, ranked number 11 calling out number 3. And if that's nobody, like you said, nobody else is calling out Rakhmonov. So you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who is going to take that fight, let alone is calling for it. And then with Gilbert Burns, I think it would be a good time to do Gilbert Burns versus Colby Covington, because that's one that we had talked about in the past. And unless you're going to give Colby Covington to Ian Machado Gary, which would be a big name, trash talk, beef fight, two of the bigger names in the division going at it. I think Gilbert Burns, I wouldn't say that he lost anything in this fight. I understand dropping him down to, 5 or 6, but that still puts him right in that Machado, Gary, Covington, Burns, Sean Brady area. So any of those 3, Gilbert Burns versus Covington, Gilbert Burns versus Gary, Gilbert Burns versus Brady, I'm happy with any of those.
I agree. I just know the Machado Gary one won't happen because Ian Gary's said multiple times, that's one of my buddies. He's one of my training partners. He's almost pulled the Marab versus Aljo thing. He's thrown it out the window. I don't need to fight. I don't need to fight him. And everyone knows that Gilbert Burns down in AT&T is the guy. Like,
Yeah.
even when Jorge Masvidal was there, Dustin Poirier was there, you see videos of him like just like he's mopping the floors in there. Like this is his home. Like, so he, like, none of them that actually train with him, knowing he's the head honcho, they don't want to fight him. That's just not happening. So
agreed. Agreed.
So Sean Brady and Colby Covington, I would love to see Colby Covington versus Gilbert Burns just because they've been so high in this division for so long and never fought.
Right. Yeah. That's like I said, you know, that's one that they talked about in the past. It just never happened. Those are two ships passing in the night that never actually crashed into each other. So I think that now would be a good time to do that. But 100% we're in agreements, and there's no question about it. Give Madalena to Shavkat. Let the chips fall where they may. See what happens. We're either going to see exactly what we expect with Shavkat Rakhmonov, or Madalena takes a chance. It pays off. He bumps himself up very quickly.
Yep.
And then keeping it in the keeping it in the welterweight division, we got Kevin Holland versus the debuting Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page doing exactly what we thought he was going to do. Came in, he was flashy, he was aggravating, he was in and out. He showed everything that we knew him for in Bellator. The point fighting style, the bravado, the highlight reel moments, the things that, you know, people talk about on Monday. All the going up against someone like Kevin Holland, who is known for all that same shit. He's somebody who is just constantly just aggravating his opponent. The bravado, the trash talk, like mid-fight, that just gets under people's skin. And I did not think that if MVP was going to get the win, I didn't think it was going to be by decision. I thought that if this fight went past 1.5, that it was going to be Kevin Holland all night. Credit to Michael Page. He was able to stave off the takedown attempts. He was able to stay on the feet. He was able to stay at distance. He was able to get in and out, score his points, land his shots, and walked away with his first win in his UFC debut. No surprise. Like I said, I've been saying it for years. There's no other fight to make for Michael Venom Page than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Where Kevin Holland goes from here, I don't know exactly if giving him somebody that he's already fought is the way to go. Because having him, he's one of those guys that it's like you really gotta, like, he's gonna be down to fight anybody. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy fought Khamzat Chimaev on 1 day's notice, so it's not like we have to worry about him taking the fight or not. I think anybody that they give him, he's gonna step in there against. But I think to protect his potential, you gotta give him somebody that is someone that's also a name, and someone that is not going to not necessarily fighting down, but you got to keep it somewhere in the same range. Because I think that Kevin Holland has certainly earned his spot at this point, and I don't think that losing to MVP in the style that he did should move him down very much, if at all. I think that it moves MVP up and puts him up in the rankings, but I don't see Kevin Holland losing too much stock from this fight. I think that, you know, he fought Michael Venom Page. He fought somebody that, you know, someone that not a whole lot of other people, I think, would be volunteering to fight off right off the bat like that. And but definitely Wonderboy Thompson and MVP, that is 1,000% my pick for this next one. Who do you got for Holland and MVP next?
First, I know I picked MVP on the Verdict app to win the fight, but that was really straight up biased because I really thought Kevin Holland was going to grapple more, and he did attempt, and he did win that second round in my opinion. I know he didn't do a lot on the ground, but I think he did enough to win that round. I thought it was exactly what it was, 29-28. But so I was happy to see Michael Venom Page get the win. Obviously, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is just the holy grail. It's like everything we ever want. I know they are very good friends. I know that. But at the same point, come on. You know they'll both be down to do it. They're showmen. Like it definitely Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has realized, hey, I'll be a showman if you want me to. Like give me a style that I can be a showman. He did it with Kevin Holland. Like he will do it with Michael Venom Page. He'll be a showman and be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll take this fight. I know he's a buddy of mine. If not, honestly, for him, I wouldn't mind Geoff Neal. Like Geoff Neal versus MVP would be the crazy power. Like you got to be careful, but Michael Venom Page being careful is not in his repertoire. So there could be a chance that he gets flatlined. There's a chance he could get knocked out. So it's like that's not bad too if the Wonder Boy does not happen. And then with Kevin Holland, remember he fights at 185 too. So he could fight up and comer, like a guy that's just dropped out of the top 15 in 185. He could even fight someone that's not in the top 15 yet, but we believe should be, like a Michelle Pereira. Imagine Kevin Holland, Michelle Pereira at 185. That's a good
point. That is a great point.
Like, I mean, I'm not upset with that fight whatsoever. I think Michelle Pereira has the edge, but the range that Kevin Holland has, that could be scary for Michelle Pereira too. Definitely if he does gas, like Michelle Pereira is known to gas, so he has to weather the storm. And I don't think we've ever seen Kevin Holland actually knocked out. Like we saw like the TKO technical finish with Wonder Boy, but we actually haven't seen him knocked out. So Michelle Pereira would have to put in some work in that fight too. Like I would not mind that fight at 185. Because
I like
at
it.
170, you don't see too many names right at the moment for him to do. So why not change it?
And Kevin Holland did fight Anthony Hernandez, who's right in that same area. Somebody that we were talking about possibly having the next Pereira fight. And then, like I said, I mean, the next person below Kevin Holland in the rankings is Michael Chiesa, and he already fought him. So I don't, even though Kevin Holland is coming off a loss, I don't think that you give him somebody that he already fought and have him fight down. Because I don't think that this was the type of loss that you like have to take a big back step from. I think that it's just one of those ones where, you're welcoming in somebody new. I don't think it should affect your spot in the rankings too bad. I think that it affects MVP's spot in the rankings more so than anything. And I like Geoff Neal. I like Geoff Neal versus MVP. That'd be a dope one. The other one right around there too, Sean Brady. I really don't like that fight for MVP next. And then the one right below Geoff Neal is Vicente Luque. I don't think that that's really the fight to make unless you just want to test MVPs, unless you just want to give him like a test for like
he's
the
here
middle
for
of the right. Exactly. If he's able to make a run at the title, credit to him. But I think, you gave him number 13.
11,
I
13,
say,
something on there.
I say that you just bump him up from the bottom of the top 15 up somewhere in the middle of the top 15, see how he fares. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, right smack in the middle. That's the only one that fucking makes sense in my eyes.
Yeah. I think everyone's been calling it. I don't think that's a hot take. I think everyone in God's green earth that knows those two fighters knows this needs to happen. So
absolutely.
Pay the guys, let it happen.
That has been, aside from like Lyoto Machida, maybe, who are the other karate guys in the sport that you want to see against each other? That's the dream matchup for everybody. And I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody of any walk of life who hears MVP versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and says, no, I don't like it. That's one of those ones that if we don't ever see that fight, especially now that it is such a possibility, it would be just the ultimate travesty.
Yeah.
And then co-main. Oh, man. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis. I'm gonna let you go ahead and start with this one because we already know where I land on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Dustin Poirier first. Great job. Weathered the storm. His hands were down. You're boxing, and I said the only way Dustin Poirier wins this is having spectacular boxing. It had to be on point, and his boxing was great. He put him down twice, and the second time he put him down for good. Like, his boxing was there, and that's what he needs to. Like, even if he does get the Islam fight, like because I know Islam's already tweeted, and Ali, I cannot pronounce his last name. I'm just going with Ali, his manager.
Ali Abdelaziz.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a slur sometimes. I've been in the South too long. It's tough to say that name. I've tried.
It's a dumb name. Times. Don't even sweat it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ali, like, they've already both said the interest of in June. So it's like, I think Dustin's going to hop the line. I do believe he should fight again. But at the same point, he took an up and coming dog, and he did beat him, and he beat him in great fashion. He showed he could weather the storm of extreme wrestling, getting in bad submission positions, and ground and pound, all that Islam Makhachev brings. And good stand-up like Islam Makhachev brings. I'm not saying that Benoit is Islam. Not saying that. But it does make an interesting matchup. Can Dustin do the same thing? And he would need spectacular boxing in that fight. So I do believe that's what will happen in June. Unless Justin Gaethje just cleans Max Holloway's head off and doesn't need to recover at all and be like, Dustin, back the fuck up, dude. Like, that's the only way. And no one's ever done that to Max Holloway. No one's ever put him on the ground. So I don't think that'll happen. I do think that both of them will need recovery time for the BMF belt. So I think Dustin will hop the line. When it comes to Benoit Saint Denis, his stock went up. I do not care that he got knocked out in the second round. He dominated that first round. In the second round, he almost had him again. I've never seen Dustin Poirier so tired. Only one time, actually, against Khabib Nurmagomedov. That fight is the only other time I saw him get tired. He was exhausted. And I honestly want to see Benoit still fight up. I don't want him fighting, now he fights 14 or something, fights Bobby Green. No, we know what's going to happen there. It's like, you got to make it, like, you got to give him a challenge. I want to see him against maybe Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is only two spots ahead of him. No, actually he's three spots ahead of him. Sorry. And I don't know. I think Benoit's going to stay put. I don't think you're going to move him down. You might move him up one, but I don't think you do because Rafael dos Anjos had a good performance too. But make him fight Jalen Turner, another really long, decent striker. We'll see what happens. Like, I think Benoit still gets the job done, but it's an interesting fight, and he gets to slowly build up, gives time to see what happens with Gamrot, Dariush, and maybe he could fight one of those after that and work his. I do think this is not the last we see of Benoit Saint Denis. He will be in the top 5 eventually. Will he be a champion? We don't know, but he's young. He could get there. I guarantee it. He can get there. So
I like it.
What do you think about
I like
this?
it. I honestly, I saw a video of Justin Gaethje rooting for Dustin Poirier. I think that Justin Gaethje is, at the very least, looking to face Dustin Poirier for the rubber match and figure that out at some point. And there's just nothing that would make me happier. I would watch those guys fight every weekend for the rest of our lives, and I would be totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier versus Islam makes sense. I'm down for it. Justin Gaethje getting past Max Holloway versus Islam, I'm down for it. If you have just any of those mix of those guys, and then don't forget, we got, I hate to sound like a broken record, Michael Chandler still floating around, man. And if that Conor McGregor fight doesn't materialize, you have to give him somebody still up in that top 5. You could give him a Mateus Gamrot, but we've already seen him versus Dustin Poirier, and it was fight of the night candidate. We saw him versus Justin Gaethje. It was fight of the century candidate. We saw him versus Charles Oliveira. Very competitive back and forth incredible fight. You know, it was for the vacant title. Just, I mean, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Those three guys, I've covered it a whole bunch. Take out or add in Eddie Alvarez. Those are the four horsemen of violence. Those guys, no matter which way you dice it, no matter which way you slice it, it's going to be a fucking banger. So any which way you put it, if you give Justin the title shot over Dustin, I'm cool with it. If you give Dustin the title shot while Justin and Max figure it out, I'm cool with that too. As long as we see some form of those guys going together again, because I think, you know, we only have these guys for so much longer. They've all been doing it for so long. It would be a shame if we never got to see Poirier versus Chandler, Chandler versus Gaethje, Gaethje versus Poirier. We need to see those guys as much as we can. And Poirier and Justin Gaethje still at their 1-1. So you definitely have to figure that one out at some point down the line. As far as Benoit Saint-Denis, I fully agree. I don't think he loses any stock at all. He did come out and say that he was compromised. He did have a little bit of an infection going on too, and he said that he had one round in him, and the one round that he did have, he dominated, and he won it clearly on the scorecards. It was a dangerous round for Dustin all the way through. Aside from those split-second moments where it looked like Dustin might be wrapping up a guillotine, he did not have much for Benoit Saint-Denis in that first round. That's how I saw the fight going. I saw Dustin being able to weather the storm, being able to capitalize on the openings in the boxing. Benoit Saint-Denis just has a few of those little things to iron out, and then I think he's absolutely unstoppable. Those, you know, his pressure is incredible. He's just one of those suffocating dudes, like a Khabib, like an Islam, but he's got the striking and he's got that just killer instinct. I think that he doesn't lose any stock at all. I like the Jalen Turner. I don't know if you heard, they announced that Jalen Turner is going to fight Renato Moicano at UFC 300. So we have number 9 going up against number 13. And honestly, you know, to your credit, whatever way that works out, whether it's Jalen Turner or Renato Moicano, I like Benoit Saint-Denis against either of those guys. If Renato Moicano is able to pull it out, I think that it's a real tough fight for Moicano. I don't see him being able to dominate Jalen Turner the way that he did with Drew Dober. Where he's able to stifle the striking and be able to dominate on the ground and hunt for the submission. Jalen Turner, I believe his last fight was against Bobby Green and was just a fucking highlight reel knockout. I don't see Renato Moicano being able to do that to him, but you know, either way, I like Benoit Saint-Denis versus Jalen Turner, and I like him versus Moicano. Moicano is only one down from Saint-Denis, so that would, you know, if things were different, that's logically the next fight for him anyways. But I do like Saint-Denis staying at number 12. I like him fighting. I mean, shoot, we could even give him to Rafael dos Anjos next. I'd be RDA versus BSD. I'm cool with that one. I think it would be a very tough fight for RDA. But we thought Gamrot was going to be one too.
Yeah, I think Benoit's going to fly through a lot of these guys. I really do. Like most people, they say there's something wrong with them, and most people are like, hey, everyone's dealing with stuff. No, I actually believe he was dealing with a real infection that was fucking him up. Where like people were talking staph infection with the thing on his head. I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but there was rumors like 4 days out that this fight wasn't happening. So I was like, ooh. So it sounds like this is a real legit thing. That doesn't just get leaked, like, and made up.
Right.
Like someone close to him leaked that. So Benoit healthy. I'm just looking and I'm like, who the fuck is the person that beats him? Like, I honestly think fully healthy against Dustin Poirier. Like, if I had to bet tomorrow, these two fighting, I'm picking Benoit again. Like, I think the first person I think that actually beats him is maybe Justin Gaethje. Maybe. Like, and
Okay.
that's still not an easy fight for Gaethje. Like, so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think Benoit, whoever you put him up against in front of him, it's going to be a good fight. And I think he's going to fly right through the next one. The next one, he's flying through, I think. Like, he's going to come out like I would say like a bat out of hell, but he already does. Every single time. Every single time.
I'm with you. I personally, I feel like at this point in time, I think Dustin was beating him whether he was healthy or not. But that's only because I think that Dustin is still just that fucking dude. He hasn't lost to anybody under number 3 in almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. He's only lost to 2 champions and Justin Gaethje, who is essentially a champion at this point, former interim champion. So I think that right now was not the time for BSD to face Dustin Poirier. But I think in possibly even 6 months to a year from now, BSD is absolutely unstoppable. He rolls through everybody above him. I think he's fighting for a title at some point in the next couple years, and it'll be exciting to watch. To watch. We'll see how the chips fall. And then last but definitely not least, we have Sugar Sean O'Malley retaining his title, getting his first title defense, and being able to remove that blemish from his record. He is now, I think we can all safely say he is, in the John Jones sense of the phrase, he's undefeated at this point. The only blemish on his record was, like how we were saying earlier, a fluke thing, one of those things that happens and it counts, and there's no way to, the same with John Jones with the elbows to Matt Hamill, the same with Petr Yan losing with the knee to Aljamain Sterling. I say it all the time. Those fluke things are like, it's one of those things where, like, if that didn't happen, we know how the fight went, but it did happen, and we have to deal with the reality of that. So ultimately, Sean being able to redeem himself against Cheeto in the way that he did, I think it answered a lot of questions, and it helped his stock. I don't think that this was necessarily like the most competitive fight he could have had. I don't think it was the hardest fight that he could have had. I don't think even Cheeto Vera was the person that should have been fighting as his first title defense. But here we are. He got that fight back. He was able to do it in dominant fashion. He put on an absolute clinic. Credit to Cheeto Vera. We love you no matter what. I'm always rooting for Cheeto Vera. Always a fan favorite, always one of those guys that I just root for in life, no matter what he's doing. I just hope that everything in his life goes well, because he's a fucking gamer. He's been through a lot. He's overcome a lot. He comes from a really rough place, which is something that I absolutely 100% sympathize with. And just being able to stand and not get, God, like we said, that fucking knee, dude. Ugh. Being able to walk through that and not just completely just check out and say, okay, I've had enough. I'm that's all that I needed. I've got my face fucked up, and I'm ready to go home now. So credit to him for being so tough, and credit to him for doing everything that he's done. But I think that we gotta give all the credit in the world to Sean O'Malley on this one. What do you think?
Oh yeah, Sean O'Malley he put on a class act. I was saying that this was going to be a comparison of Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. Not the case. Mm-hmm. This was a really good technical matchup and just a great performance. Like, this reminds me more of Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3, where just, hey, I'm just going to outclass you, man. Like, here's the real gap. Like, the first two were close. This one, I'm going to show who's boss. Like, Sean O'Malley did that to Cheeto Vera. I'm going to still say he has the one loss because he lost to Petr Yan. I don't care. He lost that fight to Petr Yan. He lost that. There's no way in hell he didn't. Like, I remember me and my buddy, we both had parlays. I had fucking Petr Yan. He had Sean O'Malley. He ends up hitting his parlay. I bust, and I'm like, I won. What the hell? Like,
damn it.
So yeah, so he still has that one loss. I remember last time on the recap of 298, I said that Ilia Topuria will be fighting Sean O'Malley. He made the call out. It all makes sense in a way. But then I listened to Dana White, and he said he's kind of like, on it. So both guys want to fight newcomer kind of stuff. It's like, Merab deserves the title fight. As much as I would like to be right, I'm cool with being wrong and letting Merab get this title fight. He deserves the title fight. Merab is the number one contender. He's been the number one contender for 2 years. Like, legitimately, the only reason he hasn't fought for the belt because he wouldn't fight Aljo. That's so Merab versus Sean O'Malley has to happen. Even if Ilya takes his time and waits and then gets Sean O'Malley after that, fine. But I think he does need to fight Merab next. And then for Marlon Vera, he needs to recover. Like, I don't want to see him in the next 6 months in Octagon. He broke something in his face. Your face doesn't just swell that for no reason. Like, there was something messed up in his face. And when he does come back, I mean, he could have the Henry Cejudo fight, a Song Yadong fight. Like, Marlon Vera versus Song Yadong, 2 guys that don't go down. I'm like, I'm in. Sign me up for that. Like, Song Yadong, I know he just lost, but those 2 don't go down. If they hit they hit hard. Yes. Sign me up for 3 rounds of that violence. I'm in 100%. So I'm in. Yeah, that's those are my 2 fights, I think.
I'm in. I like it. And that's, like we were saying with Henry Cejudo, you could plug him in anywhere in that mid-range, 4 to 7 area. Chito Vera, Petr Yan, Song Yadong. Depending on how the Figueiredo and Garbrandt fight goes, Figueiredo might be up in that mix too, in that, that 4 to 7 range, trying to find out where he's going to work next. But I agree with you. And you were the first person that I thought of too, when he made that call out. I was like, man, fucking Sean nailed it, dude. Nailed it. That, Sean O'Malley, of course, he was calling for that Ilia Topuria fight before he even beat Volk. He said, like, if, and that was at the time where we thought, all of us, we had Alexander Volkanovski as the consensus pound for pound number 1, and we thought that he had just been shafted. And then, of course, he got head kicked by Islam. Islam takes the number 1 spot. Volkanovski gets put in too soon, still, in my opinion, against Ilia Topuria. And Sean O'Malley called it. He said, if Volk wins, I want nothing to do with featherweight. And if Ilia wins, that's the fight that I want. I do like that Sean O'Malley waited until getting at least 1 title defense before he started talking about jumping weight classes, because I am just beyond fed up with people calling for champ fights as soon as they get the belt. I think Leon needs to fucking stay put. I think Islam needs to fucking stay put. I think Ilya needs to stay put. I think everybody just needs to fucking stay put, because nobody, I mean, even John Jones at this point, he's had 1 fight at heavyweight, and that just bugs the shit out of me, because like there is so many more contenders that he could face that we would be excited about. I still personally don't think that, off topic, I still personally don't think that Stipe Miocic helps John Jones's legacy in any way. I mean, he's beating somebody. He's doing what DC already did. He's still, in my mind, aside from being undefeated and aside from already beating DC, I think that as far as legacy goes, John Jones is just doing shit that DC already did. And that doesn't impress me none. I think that he needs to, if John Jones came out and fucking starched Aspinall, then I would be like, yeah, he is the greatest of all time, no matter what weight class. But same for guys like Islam. He only has 2 title defenses against a 145er. Leon Edwards, he beat Usman and he beat Colby Covington. He's still got Shavkat. He's got fucking Burns. He has, all these other guys. I think that Sean O'Malley needs to face Merab next. I think that you have to start chipping away at the top 5 in your division. I think you need to go the Anderson Silva, the GSP, the Demetrius Johnson, the Dominic Cruz route. I think if you really want to be known as the greatest of your weight class, or even just the greatest pound for pound at all, I think you have to start knocking those guys off. Once you start having to like re-up and doing like the GSP where he's facing guys 3 times or so, then we start thinking, okay, let's start looking at a different weight class. Let's start looking at champ fights. Let's start thinking outside the box here. But I think that Merab Dvalishvili deserves that next title shot. I think that Sean O'Malley, in order to really give him a strong case for being the best bantamweight of all time, at some point he's going to have to knock these guys off. He's going to have to knock off Merab. He's going to have to knock off Sandhagen. He's going to have to even redeem himself against Jan, like you said, because that's another one that people could look at and say, hey, you know, yeah, you are the champ and you beat Chito Vera and everything, but we still got Petr Yan that very easily on a different night could have fucking derailed your entire fucking train that you got going right here too. And that one was overseas, and it was like a real early morning card and everything. And I remember I was working, I woke up and I saw Sean O'Malley won, and I was like, did he catch Petr Yan? Did he knock him out somehow? Did Petr Yan get injured or something? How the hell did that happen? And then I saw it was a split decision, and I was like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you with the whole champ shit. I'm not against if Islam wins one more, because he'll be tied at 3 title defenses. That ties with Khabib, and that's with BJ Penn. So that's the record at lightweight. So if you're competing for the record at your division, then you can move on and try to do it. To you. So if Islam wins against whoever it is, and he has 3, wants to move up and face Islam, okay, I'm not too up against that. Leon Edwards, you've had 2 title defenses, but you're at 170. Guess what? You're chasing down Kamaru Usman and GSP. You got to fight some guys, and there's plenty of guys you have not fought that are in the top 5. So guess what? You have contenders. Same thing with Sean O'Malley. He has the weird fight that he could do against Petr Yan still. There's Corey Sandhagen, Merab, and possibly like let's say Henry Cejudo wins 2 in a row. Like, you could get Henry Cejudo versus Sean O'Malley. That would be massive. So there are guys. And then eventually, Umar's going to be there eventually. Umar's going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, Sean has fighters to do. I understand he's the biggest middleweight champion of all time when it comes to sales and stuff like that. But I do believe that he needs to fight. I think he needs to fight twice. But if he does beat Merab and he knocks him out, all right, 2 knockouts in an absolute 50-45 performance, maybe you give him Ilya. You might, I think you could get behind it, but he has to knock out Merab. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He has to knock him out. If it's a close fight, 48-47, like he wins on the feet some rounds and he gets taken down the other rounds, like, I still don't give him Ilya. I would have to make him fight Corey Sandhagen. That's just my opinion on that.
And it's tough with the Ilya fight too, man, because I just see like Sean O'Malley was a knockout artist on his way up. Ever since he made that jump to Petr Yan, hasn't knocked out anybody other than Aljo. I don't think that he knocks out Merab. He just went 25 minutes and couldn't even drop Chito Vera. We saw Ilya Topuria completely just separate Volkanovski, arguably pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world at the time, separate him from consciousness inside 2 rounds. I don't think that going up against Ilya right now is the smart thing to do. I think that he gets that experience. He gets some more wins under his belt. He starts to clear out the division a little bit more if he can get past if he can get past Merab, and if he can get past Corey Sandhagen, and if he can get past Petr Yan again, any combination of those dudes, I would be okay with him going up against Ilya before Umar gets there. But by the time he faces those dudes, I think Umar's there. By the time, and then by that time, who knows if Ilya is still the champ. Ilya's got to go against a bunch of people at his weight class too. He hasn't faced anybody, and I know he's already writing everybody off, but like we said before, if Max Holloway beats Justin Gaethje, I mean, that's not only does he have a route to a lightweight title shot, but in my mind, if you beat the number one contender at 155, you got a title shot at 145 waiting for you. And Max Holloway has only lost to Volkanovski, and he's out of the picture. So in my mind, Max Holloway is the number one contender for Ilya already. And if he gets past Justin Gaethje, holy shit, dude. Like, I think Ilya versus Max Holloway should be next in line. Granted, I mean, assuming everything goes okay and he doesn't have to take like a year off after the Gaethje fight, which is totally possible because, oh my God, I still get sick to my stomach thinking about that fight. But yeah, I think Sean O'Malley has to fight Merab next, and I like Chito Vera versus Cejudo, Song Yadong, or Petr Yan. Either of those I'm good with.
Yep. I got two things real quick. I just found out. Benoit does have staph infection. It was staph infection. So it's like, damn, this man fought with staph infection like that. I understand you were in the French, what is it called? Oh, I don't want to say it wrong, but he was in
military.
He was French military, but it was like the high up. It's almost like our version of Navy SEALs, like their version. He was like top of the food chain stuff.
Like special forces type thing.
Yeah. He was like in special forces for the French. And he only started training in 2017, so that's another thing with him that's insane. So this man doesn't
he has
know
so much more potential.
So even now knowing that it for sure is staph infection, dude, come on. When he's healthy, he's clearing this shit out. Like, it's facts. And then back the record is also 3 title defenses at 135 at bantamweight. And it's by Dominic Cruz. He had 3, he lost, then he got it back, and then he lost again, and he had 1 more title fight. So Dominic Cruz has the most title defenses and the most title fights at bantamweight. So, So basically, Sean O'Malley only needs to defend it twice, and he's tied with Dominic Cruz with most title defenses. But he would have to go through a Merab and Corey Sandhagen. If he does that, you can argue, is he in the GOAT conversation of 135? Because, like, TJ, I don't think would be able, in his prime, would be able to beat Merab or this Corey Sandhagen. I still think Corey Sandhagen won that fight against TJ Dillashaw. So,
yeah, I agree.
And, dude, Corey Sandhagen just has these nasty close split decisions. I mean, they're so close. But, and I'm Sean O'Malley just needs to defend it one more time very convincingly, or twice the tie, and then you know what? You go have Ilya. Go for it. So
if he can get to, I mean, with the lineup that he's looking at, Merab, Sandhagen, Yan, Cejudo, and then Umar on the hunt, if he can get to 3 title defenses, or even, you know, if he can get 2 very convincingly, like you said, I'll give it to him. You earned it. Earned it. But for sure, Merab Dvalishvili is next. No question about it. And that wraps it up. Ladies and gentlemen, my man Sean, thank you so much for doing this with me, brother. Always love your takes. The records, we'll be posting our records here soon, our individual records and the Fight Pit records. We are still killing it. We came in again over 500 on this one. Like I said, it was 8-5. We split the co-main event, so individual records will show coming up for this week. We got another fight night going on this weekend. We are looking at Tabora and Tabora and Tuivasa. Yeah, there we go. I mixed those names up. We got Tai Tuivasa and Marcin Tabora coming up this weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you again later this week. We got another interview coming up. Make sure you guys are tuned in for that. Subscribe to the Fight Pit. Subscribe to the House Call Sports. Subscribe to High Fight IQ. Sean, you got any parting words for us, sir?
Get ready. UFC 300's coming. 299, I think, is the leader right now of card of the year. I think Sean Strickland versus Duplessis is the fight of the year. I think both could be broken on UFC 300. Get ready.
It's about to get good, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to get good. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you later on this week. I am Drew. That is Sean. Peace.